Hello, everybody. Cliff Ravenscraft here. Welcome to those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel. I'm getting ready to record episode number 527 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. This episode is all about how to stay focused on the things that are most important to you. So if you struggle with focus, make sure that you tune in to this episode. Real quickly, this is a podcast episode that I am recording, and therefore I may not be looking at the camera the entire time because I'll be looking at my outline. And again, the main intention of this is to create an audio piece of content. This is an opportunity if you want to just kind of look over my shoulder as I'm doing so. I know that there are many of you out there on Facebook and on YouTube who enjoy just tuning into the video recording of my podcast. And so, welcome. All right, let's do this. In 3, 2,
Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards.
Mark Mason. Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Whether you're looking to launch a podcast or build an online business that allows you to do the work you love,
You've come to the right place. Podcast Answer Man presents The Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
now here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
That's right, my friends. Welcome to episode number 527 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And today we're going to be talking about staying focused. Have you ever had a hard time focusing on the right things, getting your most important tasks, your most important projects done in your online business? My guess is that the answer is probably yes, because, well, anybody that I know that has an online business, including myself, has experienced seasons where it is extremely difficult to remain focused on the right things. Now, every single time that I'm interacting with somebody who has their own online business or somebody that's looking to build their own online business, I ask them this one question. And that question is, what is the single greatest frustration that you face when it comes to building your online business? And one of the most common responses that I get is simply the word focus. Sometimes it's written as lack of focus. And more recently, one person specifically wrote this exact word-for-word phrase in response to the question, what is your single greatest frustration in growing your business? They wrote, I have so many income stream opportunities, but I can't seem to stay focused on one. Now, I got to tell you, I am so resonating with that statement. Because in my online business, I have many different income opportunities. In fact, if you've been following my journey over the last couple of months, back in September of this year, 2017, if you happen to be listening to this years later, but in September 2017, I decided to shut down my number one stream of income, like the most successful ongoing stream of income from 8 years, which is podcasting A to Z, which was an overwhelming majority of my income, and I completely shut it down. But the idea is that it was okay for me to do that. I didn't realize that it was okay for me to do that until after I made the decision to shut it down. Because when I was making that decision, I'm like, oh my gosh, but what would I do? This is what I've always done. This is so easy. This is repeatable. I know this will work. It's a comfort thing. But it was also that zone of excellence thing, and I knew that I wanted to move on into what I felt most called to do with the next season of my professional life. So, with that being said, I made the decision to shut it down, and then all of a sudden I went to my whiteboard, and the opportunities that exist for new streams of income were, I mean, it's a little bit crazy to say seemingly endless, but there are certainly all sorts of them, and here are the ones that I wrote down. Number one, I wanted to make sure that content production was always the biggest, most important priority for me moving forward. Now, I know content production in my own mind, I don't like it when anybody thinks of their podcast as a product like this, or your podcast as a business. I consider your podcast more to be in the content that you create, whether it's your podcast, your blog, your newsletter, your YouTube videos, your Facebook live streams, all of that stuff. That's content production. And in a way, it's mostly more of a marketing arm or a marketing aspect of your business. But it's not just that. It's also a relationship forming and a part of your business. It allows you to establish relationships. It allows you to grow relationships deeper. It's an opportunity for people to come to know, like, and trust you. It's an opportunity with your content for people to get a taste of what you offer. But at the very same time, I do see the content that I create as my free products and services that I put out into the world. So when I knew that I was going to transition out of being known as Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast consultant, podcast coach, helping you launch your podcast as my primary identity, into Cliff Ravenscraft is a business and life coach who mentors people who are in the transition from an unfulfilling day job into running and growing a profitable online business that allows you to live the life of your dreams so that you can actually do the work you feel most called to do in the world. That's the that's my new brand that I'm moving towards. And I knew that content production, offering lots of free, valuable content via my podcast, my vlog on YouTube, Facebook live videos, overall social media, even getting back into Instagram stories and stuff like that, podcast interviews. These things are a top priority when it comes to products and services, in that these are my free offerings in many cases, but also it's just a priority. But then what are the paid products and services that I'm going to be working on moving forward? I have the Next Level Mastermind, the Next Level Workshop, which is live event here in the studio where I walk a small group of people step by step through everything they need to know to build a successful online business. And by successful, I do mean profitable. Then there's the Free the Dream conference that I've been working on, and that is being, it's actually got some amazing things going on with that. I'll talk about some of this stuff at the end. But anyway, one-on-one mentoring for people who want to talk about their goals, maybe help figure out who their ideal customer is, how to get focused on the right income streams for them, online courses, how do you do it, what are some ideas here about, or what do you think about how I'm approaching this? Those kind of one-on-one clients I've been working with. I even have a Day with Cliff package that several people have taken me up on. This is where you could spend $7,500 and spend an entire day with me here in my studio. Podcast equipment sales. Podcast equipment sales, they're still currently on my website over at podcastanswerman.com. Then I even have the potential of still doing podcast launches for people, not through Podcasting A to Z, but maybe a modified version of where I get into the process with you on a mentoring level, and then I team up with my friend Jody Smith, who would handle all of the one-on-one, helping you through the technical ins and outs of what cables you need and getting you up and trained on how to use the equipment, how to record, how to publish your stuff, and even setting up your RSS feed for you. Anyway, that's an opportunity that's there for me. A self-study version of Podcasting A to Z is certainly on the table. And then, of course, there's all the affiliate income streams that are available to me. So here's the thing. I have all of these different things that are available, all of these different opportunities for income streams. And so on top of that, I also have a complete brand overhaul, transitioning from podcastanswerman.com to cliffravenscraft.com. So I totally get it. I understand what this person means when they say that my single greatest frustration right now in my business is that I have so many different streams of income as far as when it comes to opportunities for streams of income, and having a hard time staying focused on one. In fact, that was the very topic of my own personal hot seat in my green room mastermind this week. I went to them and said, listen, guys, I've got all of these different things that I've been working on. And seemingly I was tempted to just start promoting each of them equally, but I feel like I'd be more effective if I was only marketing one particular stream of income at a time. And I just want to have a conversation about that. So I had that conversation in my hot seat with my own mastermind group this week. Now, if you stick around to the very end of this episode, I'll share the details with you about exactly how I am approaching those multiple different streams of income, how I'm moving each of them forward a little bit at a time, but actually just how I came to the decision of which ones I'm focusing on first and in what order and how much time, effort, and energy I'm putting into them. But all of that I will share with you at the end of the episode. But what I want to move right into right now is the heart of this particular episode, the content for this episode. And I want to share with you 21 tips for how you can stay focused on what's most important to you. 21 tips, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time, obviously, on every single one of them, but we're just going to jump right into it and give you tip number 1. And the first tip is simply this. You must first decide what it is that's most important to you. In fact, I encourage you to either get in front of a whiteboard, a blank sheet of paper, an empty Evernote note. It doesn't matter how you track this, but what I encourage you to do is to just start writing down a list of all of the things that you want to move forward on. What are all of the opportunities, if it's income stream opportunities, what are all of those opportunities that you have in front of you? And what kind of tasks are related to those projects? But you want to ask yourself first, which one of these things are most important to me? So what I do is I first make a list of all the things I want to do. And I like to be able to start it out on a whiteboard. And then what I do is once I've written everything out, then I will come over to a document in, let's say, Workflowy, or I might use a list inside of Todoist. There's so many different ways you could do this. But I like to be able to then take it from my whiteboard and put it over into a piece of software where I can just copy and paste, drag and drop, or do whatever so that I can actually prioritize. I can drag and drop and list each of those things that are important to me and rank them in order of importance. And that's exactly what I have done with my streams of income, which I'll talk about at the end of the episode. So the first tip number 1 is for you to first decide what it is that's important for you, most important for you, by making a list and then prioritizing that list. Tip number 2 for staying focused on what's most important to you, and that is know your reason why. If something's on your list, there has to be a reason for it. And I think it's important for you to look at each thing, each item, each opportunity, each project, each task that is on your list, and I encourage you to evaluate it and make sure that you have a good enough reason for actually doing it. You know, Earl Nightingale once said that anyone is a success if they are actually doing what they're doing because they intentionally decided to do it. And he also said that success is it is the ongoing progressive pursuit of a worthy idea. So are these things that you're working on, are they worthy of your time? Are they worth it to you? And if so, why? Know why you want to do this. In fact, ask yourself this question. This item that's on my list of things that I want to do. Number 1, what will it accomplish for me? Or how will it add value to my life or to the lives of others? Really tie some kind of emotional feeling about what is the end result? Where is this leading me? What is this? How is this helping me grow? How does this help me help others? What is this doing for my business? Is this worth my time, and why? So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is, are there things on your list that you should be delegating to others? So I want you to evaluate the items that you wrote down on your list. And the first thing to ask yourself, is there anything on that list that is inside of what's called your zone of incompetence? I mean, this is like the things that are on your list that for you to be able to accomplish it, it might take you 3, 4, maybe 6, or even 8 weeks to get this thing done. Simply due to the fact that you are, I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but you're just incompetent to do it. You are not fully equipped. You do not have the skills necessary. You do not have the knowledge, the experience to do it. And if it is inside of your zone of incompetence, I highly encourage you to hire someone else to do that for you. Now, there is an exception to this rule, and that is unless the thing that you are incompetent in doing is something that you are eager to learn and make a part of, well, what you want to be able to be excellent at down the road. Or if it's something inside of your zone of genius to learn that thing, and you're going to move from incompetence maybe the first time, and it's not going to be all that fun, but you're going to move it into a zone of competence, and then you're going to become excellent at it, and maybe it becomes something that's a part of your zone of genius. So if you're not going to delegate it, then hopefully the reason for you to delegate it is simply due to the fact that you want to actually move it from the zone of incompetence into some of the other zones of the type of work that you can do. Now, if you are looking at this thing that needs to be accomplished, and the reason why you're doing it isn't so that you could actually have this as a marketable skill for you to add later to your resources of things that you have to offer people, but if the reason why is simply due to the fact that you just can't afford to hire somebody to do it, well, then that means that you have something, you have a revenue issue. And I realize that a lot of people are bootstrapping, and revenue issues are very common among those who are just getting started out. There's this thing called bootstrapping. And I'm not against bootstrapping. I did bootstrapping for so much of my business, but there comes a point in time where you really want to get out of the bootstrapping business. All right. I'm just saying that you got to get to the place where you're willing to allow the money to flow. And by that, I'm talking about your relationship with money. And I talked about that several weeks ago. And I'm just looking up real quickly to see if I can find the podcast episode real fast for you guys where I talked about. I'm going to have to edit. I hate editing. Let's see here. And by that, what I'm talking about is allowing money to flow through you to others, and specifically allowing it to benefit other people by benefiting you. Go back and listen to episode number 521. It's how to cultivate a healthy relationship with money and drastically increase your income. And that's over at episode number 521 over at podcastanswerman.com/521. Anyway, back up here to my notes. We're still on tip number 3, which is you want to evaluate to see if there's anything you should be delegating. Another area that you could delegate are things that are inside of your zone of competence. These are things that you're pretty good at doing, but you're really no better at doing it than anyone else. And there's quite a few other people out there who could do it just as great as you can. And there are several people out there who could do it a lot better than you can. And again, unless this is something that you're looking to be to grow and have as a marketable skill down the road, then this again is something that you want to hire out to someone else. And so, tip number 3, evaluate your list of things that you've got on. So tip number 3 is evaluate your list to see if there's anything you should be delegating to someone else. Tip number 4, schedule your day in advance. In fact, I encourage you to either schedule your day the night before or even the day before. So at the end of my day today, I will take a look at and see how I did with all of my projected goals for the day, all the things that I wanted to accomplish today. At the end of the day, my work day, right around 5 o'clock usually, I will look and see how did I do on the things that I said I was going to do today. Evaluating, and I'll ask myself, did I do the thing that was most important today? And if I got that done, then I feel really great. But then I take a look and see if is there anything that didn't get done today that was supposed to get done, that I wanted to get done, anything like that. And then what I do is I begin to move anything that needs to be moved over to the next day. So if it's Friday, for example, today's Friday, then some of those things are just going to get pushed off till Monday. Now, if things consistently get pushed off day to day to day, and I'm procrastinating, I need to evaluate real quickly why it is that I'm not getting those things done. Why am I not focusing on them properly? And we're going to give some other tips here that's going to make sure that that this doesn't happen. But we need to go back and say, hey, is this something that just needs to be removed? If by the way, if for example, at the end of the day, 5 days in a row, there was something on my list and it never got done, and my business actually isn't going to experience a massive downswing. It's not going to be seriously impacted by the fact that I didn't get that thing done. Then the question is why is it on the list? And to evaluate that. So, but anyway, the tip here though, tip number 4 is to spend time in advance, either the day before or the night before. If you can actually determine ahead of time what you want your schedule to look like the very next day, then you are actually in control, hopefully, of how you live out your day rather than waking up the next morning, jumping straight into the office, and then looking at your big, huge to-do list and saying, oh, I got to do something on this list. There's so much. And the next thing you know, you get a phone call, you check your email, and there's like these 3, 4, or 5 different urgent things that other people need you to do for them immediately. And before you know it, you've actually spent all day working on other people's problems and their priorities, and you really didn't get anything done yourself. And so you can help avoid that by tip number 4, scheduling your day in advance so that when you get to the office, you already have a template and a first draft of how your day is going to go before anybody else determines what it is they would like you to do with your day. All right? Just remember this. Time is our most valuable and precious resource, and it is extremely limited. So we must make sure that we're intentional about the things that we're doing. So tip number 4, schedule your day in advance. Tip number 5, when you are scheduling your day in advance, the very first thing that I like to do is ask myself, what is the one thing out of everything that I want to accomplish tomorrow? What is the one thing that is the single most important thing? So much so that if things get super crazy out of control for whatever reason, what is the one thing that if I do that one thing, it will have been worth it to get that one thing done? That I can sleep better at night knowing that I accomplished that one task, that one project, that one item off my list. What is that one thing that will be my primary focus for the day? That if anything ever needs to be rearranged anywhere on my schedule as a result of whatever the case may be, what's the one thing that has to be the priority throughout the entire day? All right. So that's, and I actually, on my planner, I will block out time specifically for this task, and I will only work on that task for that block of time. So If I look at what is my one thing today, and that's something I think is going to take me 3 hours to accomplish, I will probably block out 3.5, maybe even 4 hours out of my schedule. And during those 3.5 to 4 hours, that's the only thing that I will work on. Now, if I can't work on it before a certain time, then I will work on it at whatever time is the earliest that I can start on it. However, if it's flexible for me to be able to work on the number one most important thing, then I will block out time as early as I can in my day and make sure that it is the first thing that I can do. Occasionally, there are scheduled appointments already predetermined or some kind of meeting that I have to be at, and therefore it's the earliest that I can do it is in the afternoon. Or if I get up super early, maybe, instead of coming down to my office at 10 o'clock, which is normally when I start my business day, is 10 o'clock a.m. So if it's something super important and I've got a call at 11:30 a.m., for example, then I might make it a point to come down into my office and work from 7:30 to, whenever that block of time is completed. Anyway, the tip number 5 though is to always choose what is the one thing out of all of these things that I want to do. What is the one task, the one project, the one item on my list that is more important than everything else? Tip number 6. Tip number 6, become unreachable. Become unreachable. In fact, during this block of time when you're working on a particular task, I would encourage you to absolutely avoid your email like the plague. Avoid checking any and all social media services. Avoid instant messages, including Slack. Turn it all off. Turn your phone, your computer on do not disturb. If it doesn't require the internet, disconnect yourself from the outside world via that internet connectivity. But the most important thing here, tip number 6, is simply to become unreachable. Now, if you're like me, you're married, you might want to contact your wife and let her know that, hey, just want to let you know I'm going into about a 3-hour block of time where I am going to literally turn my phone off. I will not be receiving any phone calls, instant messages, or anything like that. Is that cool with you? And I usually wait till I get confirmation, and then I go radio silent for the prescribed amount of time. I become completely unreachable to the outside world, and that is tip number 6. Tip number 7, turn off nearly all notifications on your smartphone. Now, this is like the other one. Now, tip number 6 was become unreachable. That means that your phone can never do anything. But just randomly throughout your day, maybe you're not inside a block of time. Maybe you're in between tasks. Maybe you're at lunch. Maybe you're at all this other stuff. Maybe you're just hanging out with the family for a little bit. Whatever the case may be, if by default you have a smartphone and you have all these apps turned on so that anytime somebody sends you a private message via Facebook, anytime somebody leaves you a comment on Instagram, anytime somebody sends you a Slack message, anytime somebody sends you an email, you get a ding, you get all of these notifications all day, every day, and those things are a complete distraction. And you might think that, yeah, that's just normal. I like to stay informed. It kind of keeps me occupied throughout the day. Yeah, it keeps you occupied, and it could be exactly why you're not getting things done and you're not staying focused on what's most important to you. Because next thing you know, all of a sudden you're in the middle of a 15-minute break or a 20-minute break, and you're getting ready to go into your next time block, and then somebody leaves you a comment on some kind of social media channel, and you read it. And then you feel like, oh my gosh, okay, no, I have to respond to that. And then you spend the next 15, 20 minutes responding to that, and then they respond and you respond back. Next thing you know, you're eating into the next block of time. And you're not getting that project done. Instead, you're focusing on something else that would not even be on your mind if you didn't receive the little push notification on your smartphone. that kind of stuff could be waiting for you at the end of the day. And so what I've done is like Facebook, you, you could send me Facebook messages, you can leave me comments, you can do anything you want on Facebook, but I will never, ever see any of those things unless I open the Facebook app and then all of a sudden look to see what the little notification button says, or if it says that I have unread messages. I have gone so far to make sure that my iPhone, for every single app on my phone, notifications are turned off. There's no badges, there's no drop down, there's no pop up window. And when I say there's no badges, I'm talking about the little notification, the little red icon, so that if I open up my phone to, let's just say I want to enter my calories for what I eat for lunch today in MyFitnessPal, and I open that up, if I look at the mail icon, even if there's 35 emails that are unread inside of my mail app, the reality is that I do not have that little red circle that says 35 waiting messages. On Facebook, there's no waiting messages. On Instagram, none of my icons have the red circle with how many unread waiting alerts are available for me. I've turned all of those off. The only exceptions is my personal, my iMessage text messages, which the only people who text message me are people in my green room mastermind or my wife or my kids. Those are really the only people who text message me on my phone. And then the other exception is my actual phone app. So if somebody does call me, my phone does ring. If they leave a voicemail, there is the little icon on there so that I am alerted to that. But beyond text messages and my phone app, my phone never makes a sound. There's absolutely zero notifications in any way, shape, or form, even if my phone is not on Do Not Disturb. Take a try. Even if my phone is not on Do Not Disturb. That's just by default. My phone just normally just does not make a lot of sound. If I want to see what's going on Instagram, then I log into Instagram. If I want to see what's going on Facebook, I log into Facebook. But when I'm not logged in, I don't want to even know that those things exist. If I'm not in my email inbox, I don't want to know anything about my email inbox. That's just the way it is. I want to make sure that I'm always staying up with tip number 7, turn off nearly all notifications on my smartphone, and I stay out of my email inbox when I'm not intentionally meaning to go through and process what's in my email inbox. All right, that was tip number 7. Tip number 8, delete your shortcuts and bookmarks to all social media sites. Now, I happen to use 2 different methods of getting to sites that I frequent often. Man. Now, I happen to use 2 different methods of getting into websites that I frequent often. I did it again. Austin. Why can't I say often? All right, I'm going to try that again. Now, there are 2 different methods that I use when it comes to getting into the websites that I frequent often. One of those methods is using the bookmarks toolbar in the Chrome browser, and it's full of various different bookmarks. I also use a plugin for, and I think they call them add-ons, but it's a plugin for Chrome. And every time I open up a new tab inside of Chrome, it pops up this grid of icons that are shortcuts, just like bookmark tool, shortcuts, but it's a grid of icons that link me to, let's just say, my Google Docs. I'm looking at my email inbox, my Help Scout support ticket system, my ConvertKit subscribers, my Basecamp project management, my High-Rise customer relationship management software, my business spreadsheet, my Zoom .us account so that I can log in and get into my meetings easy, my Kajabi account so I can go in and manage my online courses, my Google Calendar, PayPal, Stripe, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, Workflowy. All of these things are just really small little icons that on any browser that I use, every computer that I have that I own are all logged in with Chrome to this Speed Dial 2 application. Now, in my Speed Dial 2 application, every time I would open up a new tab, I used to have in the first row of icons, on my grid of icons, the first row used to have Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google Plus. And the reason why is because every time I would publish a new episode, I would want to make sure that to go in and share that brand new a link to that brand new episode from my podcast in each of those platforms. And so to make it as simple as possible, I would click on the button and it would take me straight to that social media platform. I could then paste in the link and type in the little, copy that's going to get people to click through to listen to the podcast, and boom, I'm done. And it was nice to have those shortcuts. But what happened was I realized is that it's great to have those shortcuts when I'm publishing an episode. But I realized that throughout my day doing a ton of other things, and usually when I'm doing something that I know is extremely important, I have a huge reason why I'm doing it. I know that if I accomplish this task, what it's going to help me achieve, and that's extremely important to me, but it's not, and it's in my either zone of competence or even in my zone of excellence, but it's not something I'm terribly excited about doing, but I know it needs to get done. And what I found is that if I'm not absolutely super passionate about doing that thing, and I go and it's like, okay, I need to go over to Facebook and do some research for this. No, that's not what I want to say. And what happens if I need to go and open up a new tab to go do something else related to this task that I have on my list, then all of a sudden I see Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and I'm thinking, oh, this morning I posted that thing, and I wonder what people are saying about it. I wonder what kind of comments are coming in. And oh, you know what I'll do is I'll just click Facebook link there just real quick to see what's going on. And the next thing you know, I'm reading all these comments, and I posted this amazing thing, and people are commenting back and forth. They're posting all kinds of cool stuff. I'm hitting the love icon on it instead of the like because it warrants a love icon, and I'm replying to some people thanking them, and then I look and I see somebody shared this, and oh, I've got a Facebook friend request, and then oh, by the way, somebody sent you a messenger message, little private PM. Oh, it's a special request related to something else that's really important to me. It's a priority of mine. I should probably just go ahead and check that real quick. And that's going to cause me to want to go over and check my email because I think that person, there is something else in my email inbox I remember seeing earlier. So I think I'm going to go and just open up my email inbox and grab that and send this back via PM. And yeah, I'll get back to that project that I was working on. But then I get in my email inbox and it says very urgent subject line. And I read that message and it's like, oh man, I need to definitely jump right on this. This is somebody who bought a tutorial and they can't get in because they say they forgot their password or whatever the case may be. I should probably go look that up. And next thing you know, just because the flippin' Facebook link was there, 35, 45 minutes later, or even sometimes an hour later, I'm like, what was I doing? Has this ever happened to you? Well, if you happen to have little social media bookmarks everywhere you have on your browser, I promise you, your life will be better if you delete every single bookmark, either in your bookmark shortcut menu, or if you're using a speed dial little grid every time you open up a new window in your Chrome browser. By the way, I love these tools and I use these tools, but if I need to go to Facebook, it's not too hard to go and open a new tab and type in FAC. And then as soon as you just type in FAC, guess what happens? It pre-fills the rest of it for you. So it's not like you need the one-click button of the mouse. All you just do, if you need to get to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Google Plus, it's not hard to get there. Trust me. But what I've noticed is ever since I deleted these icons or deleted these bookmarks, these shortcuts, as soon as I deleted them, I noticed that I instantly reduced the amount of time spent on those sites when I should have been focusing on other things. They weren't as that they it's like I go to open up a new tab because I need to go make I need to transfer some money from this account over to this account, and the next thing I know, I open up a new tab, I log into my, bank account, I make the transfer, and that's exactly what I meant to do, and I actually did it. And then I go back and I mark that off my list and I go to the next thing, and I didn't make a detour on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn or any of those other things. And I would more often if the links were there. So, tip number 8, delete your shortcuts, bookmarks, all of that stuff to any of your social media sites. Tip number 9 for staying focused on what's most Tip number 9 for staying focused on what's most important to you is to clean up your work environment. Now, believe it or not, I am a very tidy person. I like things very neat, very organized. I'm a little bit of what do you call it? I'm a little obsessive compulsive about where things are and stuff like that. However, with that being said, as much as I love a very clean, very neat environment, many times I will go away on a business trip, a vacation, and I'll pack up a bunch of things that are normally here on my desk, and I will put them in my backpack. I'll take all that stuff with me, and then it never fails. I come back from a trip and I've got more things than I left with, and I just start unpacking things. I leave my backpack out on one of my tables in my workspace over in the next level studio over there in the workshop area, and some of the books get brought over here. I order some stuff from Amazon and I set some of those things on my table, and somebody will drop in and say, "Hey, this came in for you," and they'll set that on my desk, and I open that and I leave things. And before I know it, as much as I say that I love a clean environment, the reality is all of a sudden my desk starts to, it's like you get to the place where is my desk? I know it's under here somewhere. I don't know if you guys ever have this, but one thing I've learned for me personally is that when my workspace gets cluttered, even if my desk is completely clean, but there's just stacks of stuff all over the floor between me and the door to my office, if there's just a bunch of just empty boxes and packing materials just sitting on the floor in random places, if there's just any space in my big huge open studio area that just looks or feels messy, I'm not as easily, I don't concentrate as easily as if it was a clean space. And so there are times when I realize it's like, okay, you know what? I realize I have not been focused lately. I know that I have not been I've been distracted. And I wonder if I could just take some time off, block out the next couple hours, and I'm just going to clean this entire office up. I'm going to take everything out, bring back only what's necessary, and deal with all the stuff that I've taken out. I'm going to vacuum, I'm going to dust, I'm going to clean the stuff up, then I'm going to go to lunch, and when I come back, I'll get back to work. And it is amazing how many times I've done that, and then when I get back, it's just like, I breathe easier, and I'm more focused, I have more clarity, and I'm like, okay, let's tackle this thing. And I get right to work and I feel great. So sometimes sometimes I believe tip number 9 is in order. You may, instead of actually doing the thing that needs to get done, you might want to just take tip number 9, go and clean your work environment, deal with that, and then come back and see if that doesn't help you out. It has for me on multiple occasions. Tip number 10, give this a shot. This is not so much for me as much as I've heard it work for a lot of other people, and that is try packing everything you need to do the task at hand, pack up everything you need, and go out and find a different environment to work in. If you have been struggling to stay focused on what it is that you need to get done and you just can't seem to get it done, pick up the things that are required for you to be able to accomplish that task, goal, or project or whatever, and go somewhere else and see if you can get it done there. Maybe that's a coffee shop for you. Maybe that's you could even go to a local hotel, rent a room for a day, and plug in your laptop and just sit down at the desk that they have in the hotel room and just work in utter quiet where nobody knows where you're at, so that you could just be by yourself and get it done in a different environment. And now, neither of those all seem all that appealing to me, although there are times when I get this idea that it would be cool to find like a really cool bed and breakfast, or it'd be really cool to find like a cabin out in the woods that you could rent, and go out and do some sort of like little private weekend retreat and get a major project done. I imagine that when I finally get around to either writing my book or working on the next big newsletter project that I have in my mind, I can imagine myself going away for a weekend and renting a cabin out in the woods somewhere and doing that. No internet. All I need is just my laptop and a Word document, a word processor on my computer, and just start writing. And I can come back, and if I don't have internet connection, I can come back later and then format that inside of my newsletter or whatever. So, tip number 10, try packing up and going to a new environment for the day or even for the weekend or maybe even the week. I know my friend Chrissy Meyer just did I think a whole week-long writer's retreat just either south or north of Inverness in the Highlands of Scotland. She went to a writing retreat for 1 week in the Highlands of Scotland. So I just thought that was incredibly awesome. So Chrissy, a little shout out to you there. Anyway, tip number 11 for staying focused is stop listening to your favorite music while you work. Stop listening to your favorite music while you work. A study shows that listening to music that is familiar to you, whether it has lots of words or not, even if it's music that is just instrumental, but if it's music that you're familiar with, and it's just normal music that has not been scientifically manipulated to keep you from being distracted, this music will, in fact, distract you. There will be a part of your brain that is actually focused on that music. Now, I have been using a service for several years now. It's been at least 4 or 5 years, and it's called Focus at Will. Now, their brand is Focus, the @ sign, and then WILL, but it's Focus ATWILL on the website. Now, I do happen to have an affiliate link, so you can go to podcastanswerman.com/focus@will, and if you end up deciding to go with them, you could use that link and I'll get a commission. If you don't, you can just go to focusatwill.com. Either way will work. But this is a service that I use. It says from their website, it says it helps you focus, reduce distractions, maintain your productivity, and retain information when working, studying, reading, and writing. It is scientifically tested technology that has been shown to alter brain activity toward a state that is more conducive to productivity. Now, this is not an entire podcast episode about Focus at Will, but all I want to do is I want to encourage you to go and check out. Go to podcastanswerman.com/focus@will. If you want it. Now, the thing is, it's not cheap. It's $9.95 a month or $99 a year or $300 for lifetime access. But you can sign up for a 2-week free trial at podcastanswerman.com/focus@will. Here's what I want to encourage you to do. Try it out for 2 weeks. Seriously. Go sign up, try it out for 2 weeks, set yourself a to-do item to cancel it a week and a half later so that you don't get charged if they do ask you for your credit card for the trial. I don't know if they do or not. But if they do, set yourself a reminder to cancel it. But here's what I want to encourage you to do. Over the next couple days, I want you to create a block of time for you to work on some projects, something that you have to get done, And in the background, I want you to pick a Focus at Will channel to listen to. Now, I'm going to tell you real quickly, my favorite Focus at Will channel is ambient, and I use medium intensity. And I also occasionally will use Baroque piano. So Baroque piano, medium intensity, or ambient medium intensity. And I also have done cinematic medium intensity. But this music is formulated in such a way that there's science behind it. There's actually a link on their page that talks about how it works, and it's actually been toned down quite a bit. In the early days, it talked about the real science behind what they do. All I can say is this: it's like I enter into a time warp. We talk about time flowing. This can actually put you into what is called a flow state, and I get crazy, mad amounts of stuff done. In fact, preparing for today's episode, I actually put 4 hours worth of show prep into today's episode, and I was listening to Focus at Will the entire time. I looked up and it's like, oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock. I should probably go eat some lunch before I record this podcast episode. So it's incredibly awesome. That is tip number 11, is to stop listening to your favorite music while you work and instead check out Focus at Will. Tip number 12, avoid a simple to-do list of tasks. All right, it's very common for people, and I used to do this all the time. Each day I would just make a list of all the things I want to do, whether that's in a piece of software or if it's on a piece of paper with a bullet point next to it, whatever. But it's just like, here's a list of all the things I need to get done. Instead, what I recommend doing is actually giving each item on your list for today a block of time of when you will do it. One thing I found is that I used to have this, like, okay, here are the list of things that would be nice to get done today. And I would still prioritize them. But when I prioritize them, it's like, here's my most important thing at the top. That's always been something that I've done. But I put my most important thing on the top, the second most important thing, third most important thing. But the thing is I would still have 7 or 15 things on my list. And most days I would leave without getting even half of that done. Not even with the intention wasn't even to get all of those things done. It's just like, hey, if I have extra time, I'll do this. One thing I will tell you is that if you do not give it a time, if it's low enough on your priority list, it won't get done. You will get distracted by other things. So instead of saying, hey, I'm going, here are the 8 things I want to do today, I will put down, like, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., I'm going to do this. And then from 11:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m., I'm going to do this. From 12:30 to 1:30, I'm going to go to lunch. From 1:30 to and I will give each of the tasks on my list a block of time. When I'm actually inside of that block of time, that task is the only thing I focus on. I do not open my inbox. I do not go check anything else. When I'm inside a block of time that has been labeled with a task that I'm supposed to be working on, the only thing I can do during that block of time is to work on the completion of that task. And if I get finished with that task early, I can celebrate and go do something and distract myself. But while I'm working inside of those blocks of time, those things are actually being worked on. Okay, so tip number 12 is to avoid a simple task of to-do items. Now, real quickly, I do want to let you know, I do use a to-do list, and I do have an ongoing list of things that are tasks just in a long list of things to do. However, when it comes to planning my day, I do not just leave them in a list. I actually look at my list of things to do, the actual list, and then I say, okay, tomorrow, here is my day. I'm working from this hour to this hour. Let's choose some blocks of time and move things off of this list into a block of time so that those things get accomplished. So The only exception to that, so everything will be given a time, with the exception of little tiny minor tasks that can be done anytime throughout the day that I know I'm going to get done no matter what. So, for example, working out, that is not one of those tasks that gets just added to the list. Working out is actually on my list for either 5 a.m., 6 a.m., or 7 a.m., or at the latest 8 a.m. But that working out gets a block of time. A task that might go without a block of time is take the trash to the curb so that the garbage man will pick it up tomorrow. That's a task that doesn't necessarily have to have a time associated with it, although it probably wouldn't hurt to have that, and I would probably give it a task, or I would probably even give take trash to curb I would give it a time if I failed to accomplish that task more than once. So, anyway, yeah. So stop using just a simple to-do list. Tip number 13 is to keep prioritizing over and over again. So I told you that I do use a to-do list, but it's for my ongoing projects. That's where I pull the things that I'm going to be working on when I'm planning my day. I'm pulling from this list, but I'm always looking at the list of things that I've done. It's always in digital form for me, and I say, okay, it's a couple days later. Is this still the number one priority? Is this still the number two? Is there something that was further down the list that actually needs to be moved up higher on the priority list? And then that helps me. I reprioritize that list so that when I'm actually making my plans for the next day, then I'm pulling from the right list of priorities. So tip number 13 is keep reprioritizing your list over and over again. Tip number 14, if you have a major task that seems overwhelming to you, oftentimes what you need to do is break it into smaller chunks or smaller tasks. Say, okay, I'm not going to be able to get this project done. So you might actually be looking at something that you want to accomplish today. It may even be your most important thing that needs some more attention. All right. But you look at the rest of your day and commitments and stuff like that, and you only have 2.5 hours that you could, a 2.5 hour time block where things could be done, where that project could be worked on. But that project overall, that task overall, it's like you need 6 hours for that thing. But you're not going to have 6 hours for that thing until Saturday when the week is over. And you don't want to work on the weekend, do you? Well, maybe you do. I don't know. But it's 6 hours and it's Monday, but each day there's only about 2 hour blocks of time where you could work on it. So what you do is you actually take that task, that big project, and say, what are some how can I chunk this into some smaller tasks so that I can at least move certain bits and pieces of this forward? And so you might be able to work on it for 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, and 2 hours on Thursday. Well, you wouldn't work it on Wednesday because that's when you have your mastermind meeting calls and that's when you're doing regular content production. So, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, by Thursday, if you did this successfully, you've spent your 6 hours on the project is complete. And guess what? You have Saturday free. All right. So tip number 14 is break down bigger tasks into smaller chunks and time block those. All right. Tip number 15, I've actually talked about it many different times here, but it's goes with saying is that as a separate tip, tip number 15, when working throughout your day, work in blocks of time. So whether that's 25, actually, I usually do 30-minute blocks of time, 60-minute blocks of time, 90-minute blocks of time. And if I'm really in flow state, I might even work longer. But working in 30, 60, or 90-minute increments or blocks of time. And then what I will do is I will usually schedule myself 5, 10, or 15 minutes in between, go to the restroom, go grab a healthy snack or something like that. But the idea is to work in blocks of time. It's like, listen, I'm going to work for 30 minutes, focused, undistracted, unavailable to the world, or I'm going to work for 60 minutes. I'm going to work for 90 minutes. Sometimes I'll work for 2 hours. Today, I literally worked for 4 hours on the outline of what I was going to bring to you as these tips for staying focused on the work that's most important to you. And I absolutely loved it. I had focus at will on. The next thing you know, it's like, you know what? I thought I might actually, stop somewhere in the middle. and go grab some lunch and come back down and finish this thing up. But no, I worked straight on through, and it was awesome. But tip number 15 is to work in blocks of time. And then tip number 16 is to actually schedule distractions. I don't think distractions in checking Facebook and using social media and seeing some comments from some friends and responding to them, I don't think those are bad things. In fact, I think they're great things. I think they could even add value to your business and to your brand. But the important thing is that they are scheduled. Or at least they're you scheduled portions of your day or periods of your day, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, that say, okay, these are the times where I just have open windows to go do something. Something that just gives me the endorphins of checking in with all of my friends online. Okay, this isn't about. I mean, hey, we work for ourselves, right? So we want to live the life we want to live. We want to be focused. We want to stay focused on the things that are most important to us. But hey, we're not just slaves to this work. This business is here to serve us and to serve others. We're not here to serve the business. And so schedule yourself some distractions. In fact, when I finished the 4 hours of show prep this morning, actually this afternoon at 2:00 this afternoon, I scheduled an hour before I came down to hit the record button on this episode. And during that hour, I sat back with some lunch and on the couch, I watched an episode of Star Trek Voyager. So I just scheduled an hour distraction in the middle of my day. Maybe you need to schedule a nap. Sometimes a nap, by the way, I guess that's tip number 16.5. Schedule yourself a nap in the middle of the day. But anyway, schedule your But anyway, schedule your distractions. Tip number 17, set a deadline. Even if the task or project that you're working on doesn't have to be done by a certain period of time, give yourself an arbitrary deadline and work towards that and set it as a game, if you will. It's like, listen, I'm going to see if I can I wonder if I can get this thing done by this date, by this time. I'm working on the Free the Dream conference, and there are so many things that need to be done, both on my part and working with so many other people. And that project, that event isn't until September 7th, 8th, or 9th. And you might think, well, dude, I got plenty of time for that. But there are so many things I want to do. I'm setting deadlines for various different tasks, such as getting bookers, such as getting speakers booked to speak. In fact, I have speaker agreements on file with all but 3 speakers so far, and I should have by the end of next week, so basically by the end of the second week in December, I will have speaker contracts on file or speaker agreements on file for every single speaker for this Free the Dream conference. So yeah, set yourself deadlines, even though technically speaking, I could have let that slide all the way until March or April, even May of next year. But here I am, December, and I'm already getting those things done because I set a deadline. All right. Tip number 8. All right. Tip number 18. Join a mastermind group. Now, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to episode number 526. That's over at podcastanswerman.com/526. In episode 526, I talked about all the reasons why you should be in a mastermind group. And one of the ways that a mastermind group can help you is these folks can help you say, hey, you said that this was important to you and that you were working towards this goal. But today you're saying that you want to know how to do this and how to do that, and you're thinking about doing this new project and you're thinking about that income stream. But where are you on those other things that you said you were going to do? And so there's some accountability built into the mastermind group. So having a mastermind group to bounce ideas off of, and in fact, it is exactly what happened for me. I went to my mastermind group and said, guys, I feel like I need to get this sales page completed for the Free the Dream conference so that I can start making it available to the people who said that they want to be able to buy tickets. And I figured this thing could go public, and I'm also working on marketing the next session of the Next Level workshop, and that's coming up January 26th and 27th, and so that's coming up not too far away. And then I also am building out the Next Level Mastermind, and I'm adding new members, but I'd like to make sure that I don't want to dilly dally. I want to fill these groups up as quickly as possible so that people can start forming these amazing relationships with one another. And it was really cool what my mastermind group came out with as far as some advice, and some of it I had already thought of, but man, they really pushed me in one area that and stretched me to put off the creation of the sales page for the Free the Dream conference. They said, Cliff, why are you worrying about that now? And one of the things that they confirmed for me was making the Next Level Mastermind a priority in marketing, well above the Free the Dream conference, because that's so far away. And I was even convinced so much to focus on the next right thing that I actually removed the January 26th and 27th session of the Next Level Workshop. So now the next session of the Next Level Workshop is going to be in April. So, and what that does is it frees my focus on marketing efforts on the one thing that's the most important. And then by the time it's time to start marketing the April session of the Next Level Workshop, the Next Level Mastermind will be full, and we'll have a waiting list of people. And then it'll be, I'll market the Next Level Workshop, which is even going to be easier because it's going to have a lot of face-to-face interactions with people at Social Media Marketing World and some other conferences. So I know that I'll fill that up, and by the time that's filled up, then it will be time to market the Free the Dream conference, and it'll be just the right time frame for people to start making those kinds of decisions. So being in a mastermind group can take you from, oh my gosh, there's all of these different things that I'm working on, and I feel like I need to get these things done so that I can start marketing all of them in various different ways. And my original idea inside of my hot seat was, I was saying, hey, maybe I'm going to reserve podcast answer. And my original idea that I shared with my mastermind group is that I've determined, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reserve the podcast, the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, to promote the Next Level Mastermind. And I'm going to use Facebook and email to market the Next Level workshops. And then they said, Cliff, no, why are you doing all these things? And I mean, I just had so much clarity and so much weight lifted off my shoulder by being able to share with them what I was doing and gaining clarity on what is the next most important thing to focus on, removing some distractions, even some things that I thought would be great to be working on, but seeing how, after having a conversation with my mastermind group, that by making the decisions that I made after that call, I see that, wow, I'm going to achieve my ultimate goal of this income and being able to help these people best by removing a January session of the Next Level Workshop and not worrying about the sales page, moving that any further until further down the road. And wow. So tip number 18, join a mastermind group. All right. Tip number 19, get a good workout in beforehand. So before you get started with your day, before you start working on your projects, you've already designed what you want your day. You created the first draft and schedule and time blocked out your day the night before or the day before. So when you wake up in the morning, you are free to hit the gym and spend some time getting your heart beating at a minimum of 65% of your maximum heart rate, assuming that you've been cleared by the doctor to do so. But getting out there and getting those endorphins running, it just does something. It changes your whole mental focus and attitude for the day. I know that when I get into the gym, I'm addicted to the gym. So, but it didn't come naturally to me. I became addicted to the gym by making a commitment back in November 2014 to working out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of my life. And I will tell you, I don't want to actually start work ever having not spent at least 45 minutes at the gym, sweating, getting my heart rate up, lifting some heavy weights a couple days a week. It's just the most incredible thing. So tip number 19 is to get a good workout in before you start your workday. Tip number 20 is to eat foods that provide a steady stream of energy throughout your day, a steady energy level throughout your day. This means, I don't know if your home or your work environment has donuts, pastries, sugary snacks. If the meals that you're eating are carbohydrate heavy, deep fried foods with grease sitting on your stomach, all of those things are going to give you instant boosts of energy as a result of the glucose levels in your body. But within 30 to 45 minutes, and certainly within an hour to 90 minutes, it's actually going to reduce your energy levels, and you will feel lethargic and just weighed down, and you'll be tired and all of those things. And trust me, I know, because I have seasons when I go back to those kind of crazy things in my lifestyle. And thankfully right now I'm at a place where I haven't had sugar, with the exception of my daughter's birthday recently. And actually, no, I went on a date with Stephanie and I did have carrot cake at Redmond's Grill, which used to be called J. Alexander's. But anyway, so on very rare occasions do I have sugar. But outside of that, I live my life without sugar, and I try to eat my carbs with, balanced with healthy fats and protein. And so eating healthy foods and snacks that help you maintain steady energy levels from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed, that will help you stay focused. And then tip number 21, the final tip that I will give you, is ask your future self for some encouragement. Seriously, schedule some time with your future self. And what does this look like? It sounds a little weird, right? So here's what I'm talking about. Imagine this. You are where you are today. You are who you are today as a result of every decision you've ever made. All the things you've eaten in the past, all the things that you have done physically in the past, or you didn't do physically in the past. You are today the results of all the decisions you've made in the past. All the things you've done or didn't do all came together, all worked together to make you who you are and what you're experiencing today. Now, think to yourself, are there some decisions that you've made over the past 2 or 3 years that has gotten you where you are today, that if you had the opportunity today and go back to yourself 2 years ago and say, hey, Cliff, two years earlier, Cliff, let me just give you a little bit of insight here. Do yourself a favor and do this, this, and this, and stay focused on it and work through the hardcore, willpower, stretch it out, make it happen. I promise you eventually this will happen. And if you do this, you'll be able to avoid all of this, or you will be able to be this much further ahead. There are things you know today that if you would have focused on it and stayed focused on it, you would have experienced success a great deal faster and experienced less heartache, less pain, right? There are all kinds of things that you know today that looking back, you would go back 2 years ago and say, do this differently. Now, here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want you to take some time, schedule a block of 30 minutes out of your schedule, and I want you to think about all of those things that are on your priority list, all those tasks, all those things that you're doing. And when you're asking yourself, why am I doing them? I want you to imagine yourself having a conversation with who you will be in 2 years as a result of either doing those things or not doing those things. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to visualize, if I work on these projects, if I complete these projects, if I do these things to help meet my goals and to move me towards where I'm trying to head in life, if I do these things, what do I visualize? Who will I be in 2 years? What will I be experiencing in 2 years from now? All right? And imagine working out a couple days a week. Imagine eating healthier. Imagining trying to just change your life for the things that you ought to be doing. And imagine if you did them for 2 years consistently. Who would you be 2 years from now? Consult with yourself in the future. And then I want you to say, okay, let's just say I continue to allow myself to be focused, procrastinate, and give up, and say this won't work, and I'm just gonna rough it, and just whatever comes, I'm just gonna be content with life, and I'm just gonna I'm just going to continue to live exactly the way I've been living. And then I want you to think about and consult yourself 2 years later. 2 years from now, who will you be if you do it, if you go that route? All right. So, tip number 21 is to consult your future self for encouragement. All right. Closing notes. Real quickly here, I just want to say this is that I do have a lot of income stream opportunities. I have all of this content that I can produce, but just this week, my wife and I decided to shut down a podcast that we have been doing for 10 years. She's going to be launching a new show of her own very soon. But one of the things that just looking at things is like, okay, why are we doing this show? And you want to do this new project. But if we're going to do a new project, is there something we can let go of? And Family from the Heart is a podcast we started in January 2008, right when we started this business 10 years ago. And until 3 years ago, we had been doing this show every single week. We're almost at 500 episodes. And we just started taking the summers off and Christmas break off each year over the last 3 years since we moved into the new house. But still, we've been doing this show for 10 years. And we asked ourselves, well, why do we continue to do this show? And the answer was, well, because it's what we always do. This is a part of our identity. And the question is if we stopped doing this, are there significant repercussions? Is there significant consequences? Is it going to harm us in any way if we do this? I mean, sure, it's change and we don't like change, but if we stop doing this, would it free up opportunities for us to pursue the new things, the next things that we're called to do? If we stop podcasting and having a podcast on a weekly basis together, are we still a happily married, loving couple? Does that mean that we'll never podcast together again? Does it mean that we're any less valuable if we're not a couple that podcasts together every single week? And the answer is, as we were having our dinner together, it was very clear that one of the important things for us to do is to say, okay, I think after 10 years, it's time to end this. And this week, we recorded our final episode of Family from the Heart. Just that's just prioritizing and saying, what are we doing today? And what kind of things could we change to help us become even more successful moving forward in the next season of our lives, in our both personal lives and professional lives? I've obviously told you that when it comes to the Next Level Workshop, my original plan was that the Next Level Workshop, I was going to do about 4 or 6, anywhere between 4 to 6 of those in 2018. I've made a decision that, well, because we're doing Free the Dream Conference and I've got the Next Level Mastermind, I'm only going to do about 2 to 3 of those next year. And I removed the January 26th and 27th session of the Next Level Workshop, and the next Level Workshop is instead in April. You can learn more about when that is over at nextlevelworkshop.live. That's nextlevelworkshop.live, not .com, nextlevelworkshop.live. So Next Level Workshop, I don't have to worry about marketing that right now. Between now and the end of this year, certainly, the most important thing for me to focus on is the Next Level Mastermind, which, by the way, just added our 7th member today. And right after the 7th member, I did the interview with our 7th member. I got another application, our 8th application in. And I read through the application. It's somebody that I worked with many years ago on the launch of her podcast. I've read through all of the responses. I'm absolutely certain that she's going to be a perfect fit for the Next Level Mastermind. So technically speaking, I haven't done the interview yet. I haven't extended the invitation yet, but I'm certain that within the next few days, we will have our 8th member. And I'm looking to get to 24 members between two groups. I'm doing two groups of the Next Level Mastermind. You can learn more about this. By the way, I bought a new domain today, nextlevelmastermind.info. So if you want information on the Next Level Mastermind and how you can apply, head over to nextlevelmastermind.info. And I mean, if you have been working on your online business here in 2017 and you're not getting the results that you've been wanting to get, if you've had problems focusing on the right thing, if you have problems determining exactly who your target audience is, what products to create, in what order to do things, I highly encourage you to consider making 2018 your breakout year and joining the Next Level Mastermind. So head over to nextlevelmastermind.info. Anyway, Free the Dream Conference, I'm still working on it. I still block out chunks of time and blocks of time in my schedule every single week to work on that conference. But when it comes to marketing that conference, that's going to be put off until a little bit later in 2018 when we get closer to the conference. But I'm still doing some things on planning. I will be probably spending a minimum of about 4 to 8 hours every week for the next 6 to 8 weeks on this conference, even though it's so far out, because I want this conference to be amazing. So yeah, there's that. And then of course I have other streams of income, one-on-one mentoring, a day with Cliff package. There's still equipment sales on my website. I still want to help send some referrals over to Jody Smith. I want to do some actually, I'm determining whether or not I want to create a self-study version of podcasting A to Z. Affiliate income opportunities exist and abound everywhere. But what I've determined is the most important thing for me right now and where I'm seeing the greatest amount of success is in 3 areas: Free the Dream Conference, Next Level Workshop, and Next Level Mastermind. Those are the top 3 priorities. And in order, Next Level Mastermind until it's filled, which I expect to happen hopefully by the end of this month in December 2017. If not, by the rate that I've been adding people, 8 people in the first 4 weeks, I fully anticipate it being sold out by the end of this year, but certainly by the end of January. And then when that is full, then I can shift all of my marketing and focus on filling out the the next session, the April session of the Next Level Workshop. And then, of course, once we have that sold out, which I anticipate it will be, especially since there's going to be fewer of them next year, then I will shift all time when it comes to marketing on Free the Dream Conference. And yes, I will be working, I have been working on the website transition, blocking out time. In fact, next week, Mark Mason and I are be working on transitioning things from podcastanswerman.com over to cliffravenscraft.com. Got some exciting things happening there. In fact, I have already spent some time previously creating some new sales pages for nextlevelmastermind.info, nextlevelworkshop.live. And also, if you go over to my website at podcastanswerman.com or cliffravenscraft.com, depending on when you're listening to this, both of them will work at any time, actually, even right now. If you go to either Cliff Ravenscraft, just go to cliffravenscraft.com. And in the nav menu, click Work with Me, and you'll see how already the top 2 most important things are already listed there. And within the next week or 2, you should see the opportunity to get with me one-on-one for some one-on-one mentoring, and eventually some other stuff will show there. But I'm able to focus very clearly on exactly the right things in my business. I know what order to focus my time on. And more importantly, I know in what order to focus on them. Hopefully, my friends, these 21 tips for how to stay focused on what's most important to you has been extremely valuable. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else. And until next time, my friends, I encourage each and every single one of you to take every area of your life to the next level. All right, so that was the episode. Let me go and turn these overlays off and see if you guys have any comments here. So I think I lost the first the first broadcast. I think it cut out halfway, and I had to click a button to restart it. John says, I was focused on my homeschool project, then I saw you were live. See? See, you're distracted. If you need to be able to if you John, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're still watching, and maybe hopefully you're not, but John Becker, you need to, when you're working on your homeschool project, you need to shut off social media. Facebook cannot let you know Cliff Ravenscraft is live. Trust me, it is not worth it to be here watching me instead of building your online course. Okay? It's not worth it. You can listen to me later. You could watch the replay later. All of that's available later. This is not your priority. Your priority is to stay focused on your homeschool curriculum project that you've been working on. All right? Stephen Holmes says, long time since the last time I've listened. Well, Stephen, welcome. A lot of things have been changing over here, and the Cliff Ravenscraft Show is way more focused than it's ever been. I encourage you to check out the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. A lot of years, a lot of let's see here. Stefan says you should hire someone to edit. I certainly have done that in the past, and we'll be doing that again very soon. Elmer says, keep yourself off the internet is easier said than done for me. I always have the urge to stay on top of everything, resulting me in checking my messages all the time. Need some practice on this. Elmer, I got to tell you, until you can nip it in the bud, you will forever be spending countless hours doing things that you didn't think that you would be doing when you woke up in the morning. You literally will be allowing life and your day to decide who you are and what you do, rather than deciding for yourself what you want your life to be like. So I encourage you to shut me off right now and go do something else, and to start practicing right away. John says, I keep getting kicked off Facebook live feed. I'll have to catch later. Well, maybe that's a good thing. All right. John says, I guess I should stay focused on my project. Yes. I got a bunch of thumbs up throughout the broadcast. Christopher Voss says, happy Friday, Cliff. Thanks for the tips. Really good. It's all about the flow. For sure, going to do the 2-week trial on Focus at Will. Your cough is getting better. Glad it's clearing up for you. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Yes, it is definitely much better. Susan Milligan, Nanette Polito, Dave Curley, Marcel. Christopher says, apologize for the multiple comments. The eyes deal you suggested was awesome. Looking forward. Decisions determine destiny. Thanks for that. By the way, will miss family from the heart, but glad for the changes and future things for you both. You guys rock. Awesome. And John Becker says, I know, you're right. Okay, get off of here. All right, you distract me at work. Yes, Kurt, I do. So stop checking it out. If I can get on here and distract you guys, at least with the message of stop letting me distract you, then I will have succeeded, I guess. But the cool thing is that these things are recorded. You don't have to be here live. That's just how things are, right? That's just how it is. Anyway, Alexander, hi to you as well. And I have now commented or responded to all the comments on the second half of this broadcast, and I will go back later sometime soon and look at all the comments that were on the first half of the stream before it cut off, hoping that Facebook still has that as well. Anyway, I got to go publish this online, and then I'm going to a Christmas concert at school for my kids' choir. So bye-bye, guys.